So there I was on Unranked, and I was fighting this Marth player, and I was playing them with my Fox, and I was winning. And I realized as we were playing that this player's getting tilted. This person's getting frustrated. It's not like they were spamming lol and bad connection between every single game or anything like that. It's not like they were taunting or spamming moves in place or, you know, teabagging or doing some kind of explicit behavior that made it clear they were frustrated, but I could tell from their gameplay that they were frustrated. And this got me thinking, like, why could I sense this? I mean, when we finished the session, the guy eventually went Kirby and did start spamming taunt in place and then spamming lol. And all of those telltale signs came out at the end. But how was I able to pick up on this midway through the session? So I started thinking about the nature of toxicity in these sorts of contexts, in the sense of somebody's gameplay. How does frustration affect someone's gameplay? There's a really cool video by Core Gaming, I'm gonna link in the description, that actually talks a bit about how people play when they're frustrated and things that can cause people to play frustratedly. And also, you know, I've had theories for quite a while about toxic players, so to speak, and how they actually play differently. And maybe coming out of this video, you'll be able to pick up on some of these signs and even use some of these insights to actually kind of exploit tilt and frustration in your opponents and maybe beat people you haven't been able to beat before. So this is a fun one. Hope you enjoy the video. Okay, I have some theories on toxicity and Unranked. I have some theories, okay? Here's the thing. First of all, everyone knows this, if it's a spacey player especially, but actually more or less any character. Everyone knows the more you tech in place, the more toxic you are. This is a proven phenomenon. This is absolutely proven. If someone techs in place 5 times in a row, that motherfucker is fuming. That guy is so mad. It's obvious because the more toxic you are, the more buttons you want to press. There's just something, there is this innate correlation, and it's not a causation, but I think there is a correlation in general. High APM tends to correlate with toxicity. I don't completely know why. I guess Corey has a video on it. The more tilted you are, the more, or not even tilted, but the more emotional you get, the more you want to take risks, I guess, the more you want to push buttons. I've always had this, again, working theory that the most toxic space animals, and I've tweeted this before, by the way. Here we go. Here's my tweet. Here's my tweet on the subject. And so this has been a theory of mine for quite some time, as evidenced by the fact that I made this tweet back in 2019. This was before even the Slippy era. Okay, so this was when I said net play, I meant delay based. And people, Tekken players are usually douchebags. The faster they can press buttons, the better. Exactly. This is basically the crux. As a Sheik player, I hard read how mad I think they are at that grab. And if I think they're really mad, I just start charging that up smash. This is what I meant when I said, like, Sheik players, I think, really intuitively know this. Point being, right? So this is my theory. This is my theory. Higher APM, the higher APM you are, the more I would say the average net play opponent, to me, feels like a toxic player, okay? Not always true. There's some extremely high APM individuals that I don't think are really toxic at all, like Hacks Best of 5. But like, okay, so dude, I don't know. I just wanted to like bring this full circle. And okay, I'm talking about this video I want to make about bad habits, and I'm talking about, dude, I ran this fucking Marth player earlier today that made me want to put out my video on bad net play habits, because this guy had the worst forward smashes, and he was pretty good. I'd say he had good movement and he had good execution, kind of, but I was playing this guy and it felt like he meant to start his career as a Sheik or a Spacey or like some character that can just spam moves. And he stumbled on Marth, and it just wasn't a good playstyle, because as soon as he was out of lag of one move, he'd throw out another move. And if you jumped around him for 3 seconds, if you jumped around for long enough, it would be a forward smash. And then I would just run over and grab him and kill him. And we played like 8 or 9 games in Fox Marth, and this guy kept giving me these huge forward smash whiffs, or I would like run up shield and he'd forward smash, and he'd like nair forward smash. And it was crazy because I had this thought as I was playing him. I was like, dude, this guy's like a Ganon. Because when I really need to beat an unranked Ganon, my trick, if I really need to beat a Ganon, and even offline Ganons, even, I mean, this worked against every Ganon of every level. This worked against Bizarro Flame, you know, I played Bizarro Flame in every weekly for months. If you wait long enough in neutral, they will down B at you. It's just a fact of life because they're excited for the prospect of you full jumping and landing on it, and they get the good hitbox, and you die at 50. Like, the problem is they do these down Bs at ranges where nothing else is actually threatening you, and the down B is the only thing that threatens you. So I'll just start jumping around knowing that they're frothing at the mouth to wait for a down B, a wizard's foot that hits me, and after 20 seconds, there's yet to be a Ganon on the whole planet except Nun's Ganon, who Nun doesn't like B moves, and this is why he's the best Ganon, who doesn't down B at you. Even in ult, that still happens. That's what I'm saying. It's 21 years later. The game's been out for that long, you know? And right, exactly. So I'm playing this Marth, and this guy's punish game was pretty good. Like, you know, we played, for example, like he got me down to last stop in FD, but I was like, at the end of the day, he couldn't clutch a single game out against me, and I could tell he was getting pretty mad. Don't ask me why I know this, but I could tell he was getting pretty mad. And like 10 games later, I keep clutching him out last stock because I'm just like, well, if I really need to win, I'm just gonna dodge your fucking forward smash. Anyway, I then wanted to Marth to him, and you guys know that I play a ton of Marth on Slippy all the time. And he got very offended at this, and he started spamming LOL, and he went Kirby, and he started spamming taunt with Kirby, and I was like, okay, I mean, I can't interact with you anymore, unfortunately. Your mentality is discombobulated into its constituent components, and you know, you're a shell of the man you were 30 minutes ago, and so I had to leave on this guy. But it was crazy because, you know, I kind of had this like nagging sense that he was gonna be like a tilter when I started playing him, because he was like trying to be so high APM and never just dashing. Like, he was never dashing back. He was so move spammy. He was such a move spammy Marth. And I want to tie all of this. I want to tie this theory together. I do want to watch this Corey video.
Give him another hand.
Sure.
Grabbing it with the Ultra 2.
I didn't know Alex Vi played Hugo.
Characteristics of a character's playstyle is what kind of emotion they can make the opponent feel.
I thought Alex Vi always played Shotos.
That's
how out of touch I am with Street Fighter.
You might have guessed it, but the grappler archetype is designed to incite fear. Fear makes you less likely to take risks, which explains why a good grappler will make you want to scramble and escape. But what's interesting is that the same study that showed how—
Bro, wait, it's fucking coming together. Cause when people are fearful, they don't tech in place. They tech in! Or out even, to the ledge. Okay, it's coming together. Fear is the opposite of toxicity. In that sense, at least in that sense. Huh? Okay. Well,
fear makes you take less risks, showed that anger had the opposite effect. Anger actually resembled happiness and optimism in that it made you more likely to take risks. Angry people have even been found to be less worried about terrorist attacks and more optimistic about marrying someone wealthy. Just like when you do bold things when you're feeling yourself, anger has a similar effect. This explains why being angry can sometimes help you win.
Rare footage of
happiness resembles
But you can probably see why getting angry is not a sustainable strategy.
Angry now! Good old Puko, angry now!
Just like how there are characters designed to induce fear, there are ones that are designed to purposefully anger
I
and
miss
frustrate
dude,
your
I miss
opponent,
Puko.
causing them to take more risks.
Yeah, that guy was one of my favorite players.
Will be Guile or any zoner. The goal here traditionally is to keep your opponent away from you as much as possible until they get frustrated and start to do risky advances like jumping at you or pushing forward recklessly. When you've successfully killed their patience, you can make them literally run into your punches.
He escaped the situation. Oh my god! He took it! Knuckle dude!
Let me see that again.
Until they get frustrated. The goal here traditionally is to keep your opponent away from you as much as possible until they get frustrated and start to do risky advances like jumping at you or pushing forward recklessly. When you've successfully killed their patience,
so zoners make you angry,
run into your punches.
grapplers make you fearful. That's the theory. Zoners make you angry. Interesting. Grapplers definitely also make me angry. Grapplers make me both, but okay, that's besides the point. Bro, saying one more. I'm telling you guys, the average Falco player on Unranked becomes like 1.5 times as good of a player if you type in. I actually started saying when I'm fighting Falcos, if I want good practice on Unranked, I just tell them one more, even if I plan on playing them more than that. Because then they start platform camping me and actually playing neutral instead of like charging in and just giving me stocks. And then I'll just keep playing them and I'll keep telling them one more. It's great. You can get such better practice if you steal this strategy. But yeah, I think what's going on here ultimately with Fiction's thing, which I'll pull up, is it's the fear versus anger thing. And it's like that whole willingness to take risks, right? Because, okay, like at the end of the day, Everybody gets tagged real tough and confident on act like they don't care if they hit, just going for mix-ups over and over. They come to an IRL tournament, they're rolling and double jumping all over the place. A little pressure goes a long way. It's so true. And I think this is exactly what, here's my response, by the way, with the one more thing. And I think this is exactly what Corey's talking about in this video, is like, what is the common emotion associated with toxic unranked players? It's anger. They tilt, they rage. And when they rage and they tilt, they take more risks. They play like, they just approach willy-nilly and they spam forward smash in the middle of the stage and granted, I mean, okay, people, I think that kind of aspect, of course, I think it manifests differently in different people, but I do think there's something pretty strong going on here. And, you know, those same people, you know, I'm just thinking of like common responses that, or I should say common situations that for which fear is a common response in Melee. So my best example of that by far is wobbling ice climbers. So not tournament legal anymore, for better or for worse, but people, myself included, people played scared shitless against the wobbling ice climbers. Like when you knew that like a single grab or even something that leads to grab, like an up air or like a up tilt blizzard, like when you knew that like you could just get touch of death like that, that's why, I mean, obviously there's a you know, obviously it's a pragmatic decision as well. Okay, I'm going to go to the platforms because it's harder for the ice climbers to touch me if I'm on the platforms. But people got way worse at taking risks, and you would see it, you know, people would even like kill Nana and they'd be fighting Popo, but they're still so inherently fearful that their gameplay would be a lot more basic and they would take a lot, you know, fewer risks, even though they're just fighting Sopo. And you would see this all the time back in the way. And I do kind of miss this element of Melee. Obviously there's no wobbling anymore because we banned it. But like the inherent nature of the Ices matchup was so different. And I've never really tied it to the sense of fear and how fear makes you take fewer risks versus like anger or even happiness that make you take more risks. But you really do, I guess, see it. And it's not even just risks either. I think it's literally, in a lot of ways, I think APM. You know, I feel like when you're tilted a little bit, this is a very common spacey mentality that I think I myself fall into all the time. When you're tilted or when you feel like you're playing bad or whatever, a lot of people try to brute force APM their way through it. And I think where this really gets blown up, interestingly, because I remember a year ago maybe, I had this really cool video that I did with Pew Pew where we were basically talking about the worst doubles habits. And this is on my channel somewhere and it got a good amount of views. So maybe some of you guys have seen this video, but we were talking about the worst habits to have in doubles, and one of the worst things you can do as a doubles player is happiness, as in like, think about like when you're feeling yourself. Maybe not happiness, but well, literally psychologically in this Corey video, he says happiness. He does use the word happiness, but imagine someone who's like feeling themselves, like they're like really proud of how they're playing. You know, they're going to go for some gambles and try like Mech jumping off the stage and Falcon punching Lucky. Okay. You know what I'm saying? There was no fear involved in that decision. There was too little fear and a little bit too much happiness, I think, involved in that decision. Okay, that's what I mean. Call it whatever you want. Confidence, happiness, whatever. But I think he should have felt a little bit more fearful, and then he probably would have 3-0'd Lucky. Anyway. Okay. No judgments here. I get it. Anyway, I really think this gets blown up in doubles because in singles, you sometimes can cover up your... Like, if you feel like you're playing bad, you can kind of brute force your way through it sometimes. But in doubles, if you need to make a comeback, cranking up the APM and opting to do more things is never, almost never, the solution. Like, you just run into problems when you do that. Because it, like, we talked about it at length in this PPU video, and you guys should watch that because it was a dope video. I had a really good time making it. And it was a really cool stream that I did with PPU. But he basically said, like, yeah, like when you try to turn the APM up, like when you try to just like say, I'm going to push more buttons, I'm going to make it happen. Like when you say that, invariably your awareness goes down. And awareness is the number one. It's the end all be all in doubles. Like you need to be aware of everything that's happening on the screen. And so I bet this is a fucking thing in MOBAs too. I bet this is a thing in so many different team games. But in Melee doubles, it basically manifests as someone who's like, okay, I'm going to hunker down. I'm going to really play good. And then they just start missing opportunities and they start getting hit by the wrong opponent, the opponent that they weren't focusing on. And they miss team combo opportunities. Because a lot of the time to hit the best team combos, you got to slow down, not speed up. Because you got to let the opponent come to you. And there's this kind of natural flow state that getting tilted really takes you out of. Singles is a little bit less of that, but there's a degree of it, I think, where people can sometimes get a little bit more predictable, which is what, you know, like Fudo right here, right? Like this is what I would call
killed their patience.
I guess
you can make
predictable
them literally run into your punches.
He escaped the situation.
Right.
Oh my God!
Where he literally just charged forward like 3 times in a row.
With the triple fierce.
And this is why I think NuckleDu is such a strong player. His 2 main characters are Guile and Armika, a zoner and a grappler. On the surface, it seems like
really
his multi-character arsenal is to cover up bad character matchups. But having characters that provoke radically different emotions is invaluable for the player matchup. He demonstrated this at Capcom Cup 2016 when he used Guile on MOV and Mika on Ricky Ortiz, both who specialize in the same character, Chun-Li.
Wow.
Fear and anger are just 2 examples of basic emotions. But where it gets interesting is when you think about how many complex emotions there are and how they all affect our decision-making
I haven't seen
in
Ricky
different
Ortiz
ways.
compete in anything.
How do we feel when we're playing desperate, outnumbered, or depressed?
Can think of
No, Sad Plum, no, not Sad Plum, no, not Mike and Ike, no, Mike and Ike, no. Everyone remembers this shit.
Taunting evokes a cocktail of different emotions, but humiliation is one of its main
ingredients.
Like
did him so dirty.
There's actually an archetype for humiliation,
no.
the joke character. Designed to be silly and low tier, one of the joke character's strengths is the ability to put the burden of winning on your opponent, even if they're the underdog.
People tell me. He has the crowd behind him. This shit happens in chess too. This is a lot of shit openings in chess. Part of it is the psychological element for sure, even up to the grandmaster level. You play an opening where it's like, okay, you know, as the opponent, it's not good, but you know, you might not know all the theory, and they're gonna know a little bit better than you, and you feel like you need to debunk the opening that they're playing right out of the opening. So people take risks, and and complications ensue, and they, you know, they lose. So this is a thing in so many different games.
Power over someone
100%.
by denying. A study in 1973 has famously shown that people cited public speaking as a common fear more often than death.
Damn, wait, it's that high? Oh my God. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say more people should do theater. And I just did theater in high school, and so I got over that shit real fast. That's probably why I'm a commentator. It's because I literally did fucking theater. And I did a little bit of improv too. Damn, more people. I think more people should do that.
People cited public speaking as a common fear more often than death. The fear of humiliation is real, and the reason why taunting is so effective is because you can simultaneously put that fear into your opponent and use it as a punishment.
That's big damage. Where are you going? Oh!
Improv's not really stand-up. Improv's definitely different than stand-up.
NuckleDu completely stopped doing reversal flash kicks in mix-up situations for the rest of the set.
Wow.
If you look at the culture of fighting games or fighting sports, the building of status and the destruction of it is everywhere to be seen.
Let's go!
You see it in pre-match trash talk.
I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious.
This is the greatest interview of all time, by the way. This is the greatest interview of all time.
The most ruthless champion there's ever been.
Post-game win quotes.
What's he say? He's like, my defense is impregnable. My style is impeccable. I want to tear his heart out and eat it. I was just like, dude.
Of course, during the match as well.
That's the best interview of all time.
A complete disregard for sportsmanship, but there are some unwritten rules. Attacks on status are tolerated and even encouraged as long as they don't target
he says, I want to eat your
lesser
children.
Skill, and as long as the disrespect pertains to attack.
Let me see that again. Attacks on status are permitted as long as the target is not a far lesser skill. Agreed. And by the way, I think there's a Hungry Box corollary here. I think this is why some HBox pop-offs irritated people for some time, because HBox would frequently pop off on people that people felt like he should just be beating cleanly. I think this A bullet point here, I think this happens a lot less with HBox, but I think that's you know, I think that's a good part of it. Like when he popped out from fucking Null, you know what I mean? I don't know. Not that Null is of far lesser skill, but like whatever. Okay. I mean, HBox has built a whole fucking career on the pop-off at this point. I'm not going to criticize them, but at the start, at least, I think this is where people's heads were at. On some of them. Not all of them, but some of them.
As long as we can still shake hands, cancel into fist bump, and say good game, I think we'll be fine. Let me know in the comments how you feel about taunting. This was Gerald from Corey
They should have had
Thanks for watching.
Nemo
and if you'd like to support these videos,
they should have had Nemo and Idazan on there. Okay, I mean, what's up, Cheebs? Thank you for the 21 months. Appreciate that. Yeah, okay. I'm really into the whole fear and anger aspect of all of this. There's some cool shit going on with that stuff for sure. Cause it's true. And people on Unranked, like Fiction said, a lot of these guys, they don't feel fear until you put that one more message up. Try this at home. Everyone try this at home and get back to me on the results. Try putting up the one more message and see how, and just take note of how your opponent's gameplay changes. People are a lot more, what do they call it? They call it the road game, you know, the game for the road. People feel like that shit's more important than tournaments sometimes. People tense up. It's crazy. It's crazy.